What company do you work for and why?
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here with you. So I work for Twitch, which is an Amazon-owned live streaming service. In fact, it's like the biggest one, I guess, in the world. It's a place where anyone can come and build a community around shared interests. I think most people probably know Twitch, like a gaming site for gamers to watch other gamers game. How many times can I say gamer? But actually, there's lots of use cases. There's lots of reasons people watch. I personally, I have I watch a weightlifting channel. It's like having a personal trainer and someone who's just pretty cool. Why do I work at Twitch? So a great question. The way that I think about Twitch is it's a place that helps people find their people. And that really resonates for me because I grew up when I was a kid. I was a diplomat's daughter, so that means we moved every like 2 to 3 years. I know I look really young, but I actually existed pre-internet. And so there was no way to like stay connected with the communities that I found and that I build to sort of fulfill that basic need. So every couple of years I was leaving behind all my friends and all my interests and just all my connections, And so I think if Twitch had been around when I was a child, I think I would have been, much less lonely and I would have felt less like a perennial outsider. So in my mind, Twitch does a lot of good in the world. And I just want to see that continue.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience and maybe your role in the company?
So I've been a PM my whole career, with an exception of a few years working in the federal government, which I can share a bit about. So the first maybe like 10 years or so, I was working just in private sector, mostly like large tech conglomerates. So New York Times, Interactive Core, Lionsgate Entertainment, mostly on e-commerce sites. Or like content marketplace type of sites. And I really, really enjoyed that. But I started kind of longing to apply my product management skills to something different and something with meaning, like where I could really feel the impact that I was having on people. And so I heard about this little outfit in the federal government called the United States Digital Service that Obama stood up actually in response to the challenging launch of healthcare.gov that I'm sure many of you who were around in 2011 may have read about. Basically, the premise was bring in private sector talent from like the Googles, Facebooks, Amazons of the world, and have them partner with civil servants such that we could launch, scalable, viable, feasible, usable products that really helped the constituents of the government. So I joined their Homeland Security outfit primarily because it benefited the services that they needed to give benefited the most vulnerable folks that the government serves. So immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers, disaster survivors, all this. And so I found that really compelling. I joined. I ended up actually leading the group for a couple of years out of my stint, I guess. And it's some of the most meaningful work. And that's actually what led me to then, want to continue finding sort of like vulnerable parties, which, my current role at Twitch is with the monetization team. I head up product as well as look after data science and data engineering. I took that role because I saw the streamers who were building communities. They wanted them to be sustainable because they're obviously meaningful for the streamers as well as the viewers and the community writ large, and helping provide monetization tools and services, basically make those communities sustainable and enable them to keep thriving. Because obviously if a streamer has to go work some like 9-to-5 job, they're not streaming and they're not having that, creating that place for people to join.
So my next question is about your area of responsibility, but we already know about what to do, maybe some details.
Yeah, the mission is, help streamers make a living doing what they love so that they can build these thriving communities for people who need them.
What are the peculiarities of your profession? What you can say about it?
Well, I'll say product management is peculiar just in and of itself. And I very much recognize that, but I love it all the same. Something I said to some coworkers the other day was that product management is applied psychology. That really resonated, I think, with them, because it really is just about understanding human beings and really being passionate about like understanding how you can leverage technology to solve real problems, which is super cool. But yeah, so I think a lot of sort of playing co-op is needed, more so than maybe other functions, because as the product manager, you're really bringing together all these points of view and centering them directly on, the customer need. And so you really need to be able to bring out the best of like your data teams, of your design teams, of your, research, your business teams, who all have a certain point of view, a certain sort of specific point of view. And you have to put them through the lens of the problem statement and the value that you're trying to bring for the customer, and bring it all together in a way where it's really solving a true need, for, in my case, like the streamer, right? So there's a lot of this sort of, playing across lines and taking what may seem like divergent perspectives and seeing how you can bring them together and bake them into the product such that they solve the problem and bring the value for your customer. I'll also say just like product management is really more of an art than it is a science. And we can never underestimate the power of our soft skills. So like clear communication, deep listening, like really hearing and like understanding problems in a way where you can really get to the root of them, and then true prioritization based on those customer needs. Like that takes high judgment, and it is far more challenging than just like writing a product spec. It's really, I think, the soft skills that make this role, make or break, I would say, a person in this role.
In your opinion, what's the top 5 skills needed in the project management?
I'm tempted to say versatility, but really I would say grit. Can you get knocked down and get back up like stronger than you were before? Like take the hit and like understand why you took it, and then come back and just keep trying to solve that problem. Keep pushing until you get something out in the market that actually works for your customers. And yeah, like this can come in the form of friendly fire, like from people internally, or it can come from launching the wrong thing and having to really understand why. You can have all the belief in a product or a feature before you ship it, but once you ship it, that's the only time you're really going to know if you hit the nail on the head. And more often than not, people don't hit the nail on the head, and you can't just sort of throw up your hands and say, okay, I'm going to work on a different problem. It's like, okay, what went wrong, and how do you keep working? So grit, I guess, and I think that's commonly attributed to like product management, but I really truly believe it's important. Learning and being curious. So actually, I'm kind of borrowing from the Amazon leadership principles, which you can Google Amazon leadership principles. I think they're really good. And I think a lot of them are very applicable for product management in particular. But yeah, learn and be curious. So you have to really want to understand like why is your colleague coming with this perspective that may be different than yours? Why didn't your feature work for your customer? Like, why is your customer asking for X? Like, do they really need X, or is it something else that they really need? So just being really curious. And then there's another principle that's are right a lot. Like PMs, we just have to be right a lot. Like if we're not, we're going to lose all our credibility. And as PM, like kind of your credibility is your whole job. Like if you can't earn trust, actually I would say earn trust is also on this list of skills, but if you can't earn trust, like you're not going to be successful. But so you have to be right a lot, and people who are right a lot, they actually listen a lot. They change their mind a lot. They wake up and they reanalyze things and they see the world differently. So if you're not changing your mind frequently, you're going to be wrong a lot, and you're not going to be successful as a PM. You have to want to disconfirm your fundamental beliefs. And then having high ownership, that is absolutely an essential piece of being a PM. You have to sort of like go to bed thinking about everything you learned and wake up like with new plans, basically. And like you have to feel like it can't be like, oh, well, marketing says they won't do this, so, I don't think we're going to get the adoption we want, and that sucks. But like marketing said no, right? Like you have to be like, I have to find a way to make this work. And then, earning trust. It's basically like the underpinning of being able to get the input that you need from your colleagues and your peers and your partner functions in order to get the right product out the market.
What do you like the most about your task? What thing in your job do you enjoy? Maybe your favorite tasks or something?
Yeah, honestly, I just love working with people. I love how unpredictable and surprising and brilliant and like I just love people. They're like a gift. And every time I get to meet a new person, I feel like I'm learning, I'm seeing the world from a different perspective. And I feel like with product management, just because, stakeholder management is so important in that role, you really get to work just across the company and with people of all different walks of life. And you get to put your heads together, solving fun and challenging and difficult problems. So I think it's the people. And then of course, like on the other side of that, it's like delivering the value to people, really, again, like taking technology and using it to make people's lives better. I feel so charmed to be able to have that as my job, basically.
How your usual day looks like as a project manager?
In a word, meetings. I usually wake up around 5 a.m. because my son enjoys waking up early. And so spend the morning with my son, then 8 to 5, just literally back-to-back meetings. I actually got myself a walking desk so I could and a stand-up desk so I can turn on the walking treadmill and like stand at my desk, because otherwise I would get like no exercise. But yeah, so just, meeting with all the wonderful people I've been kind of talking about. And then I do have a hard stop at 5 p.m. To spend a couple hours with my son before putting him to bed. And then like 8 to 10 or 11, it's basically catching up on work and then sleep.
Tell us about your last successful case.
So I could talk about successful product launches at Twitch, but it would be the work of my teams, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
The work that I do is really just setting clear direction and giving my teams like the inputs that they need in order to solve the right problems for the right people and have what they need in order to do that. Yeah, I mean, I guess, every year Twitch does September. So for those unfamiliar with the site, one of the main ways to support streamers is to subscribe to them. So for $5 USD per month, you can support your favorite streamer and you get some benefits and fun stuff too from Twitch. We have a month in September. We call it September, and we usually, partner with companies to sponsor it. And it's just sort of a big cultural event, and it's really good for streamers. They get all these new subscribers, and there's usually like discounts, and it's just a fun month. This last September, we actually launched a couple like feature optimizations right at the end, alongside like a big gifting subscription promotion as well. And it was just sort of like the impact of like making Hype Train, which is another existing product on the site. I feel like you might need to go on Twitch to check out a Hype Train, to be honest. There were like basically levels of support that you could get a Hype Train going that unlock little emotes for folks. And we uncapped that so it could go much, much higher. And we also, launched like an all-time high feature, and as well as like this like gifting promotion, which is always just like a favorite every September. And just kind of the power of that package just really created an incredible moment. And actually, now that I've gone on and on about this, by the way, I feel like it's too much insight. I feel like you have to know Twitch to understand any of it. So maybe, can I switch to a different example?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm like, nobody's going to know it. Like, unless they like are hardcore Twitch users. They're not going to know it. Like all-time high Hype Train is. Yeah, sure. So we actually, just this past year, invested in our payouts, which, so as you may know, so Twitch, obviously we have streamers who build these communities. They get paid through a variety of ways, including forms of advertising, as well as, streamer support from viewers. And we manage those payouts. Up until last year, we had a globally set $100 payout threshold. So you had to earn $100 before you could get your first payout. We also knew that getting your first payout is a huge motivator for streamers, which you can imagine, right? Like getting your first paycheck probably kicks ass no matter what your job is, right? So, we did some math. We're like, okay, how drastically can we reduce the payout threshold to allow the largest majority of streamers to get monthly paychecks while still mitigating for, like fraud and all those like scary things that we don't want streamers to be subjected to. And so what we did was we found that 50 USD was the best first step. And we reduced the payout threshold from $100 to 50 And that actually really impacted our global streaming communities the most because, obviously, if it's a USD, 100 USD is actually quite high in a lot of countries. And frankly, it's kind of high even in the US, to be honest.
My next question about your failure. You had maybe some not successful experience?
Yeah. So we're still working on this project, so I don't want to say too much about it, but I will say, I think a common trap in product management is trying to solve too many problems at once or trying to address too many sort of value propositions at once. We're building a new basically form of advertising tool. We know that advertisers have a variety of needs actually and throughout the funnel, and they buy products that, are specifically tailored to some, but also, may sort of run the gamut. We're building a new product and we had been trying to design it basically for both sort of broad appeal, broad awareness, viewers who may not be familiar with Twitch, we would be targeting as well. And also deep engagement. And we kind of didn't stop and think about the fact that Twitch really is all about, our whole value prop is that deep engagement, right? It is those, it is spending hours with your favorite streamer in communities where you feel like you're with like-minded folks, who have similar interests. So once we kind of recognized that, we pivoted and really just focused on that specific value proposition. And I think this product will be better for it. So trying to bite off more than you can chew with a single, especially initial product launch, is just a common product management mistake. And I think we were near to falling victim to that, I would say. It is so much better to start out narrowly and build a product that a few people would be obsessed with than it is to try to build that broad layer of oh, well, everyone will use it. Everyone will like it. It'll be apple pie to everybody.
What advice would you give to the people starting out in the project management?
Product management really is a team sport. And the more you can engage and inspire, your team and your peers, your stakeholders, the more successful the product's going to be. Also, you have to get out of the house, right? Get out of the building to actually build for the customer's needs. So not only do you have to do things continuous discovery, taking prototypes, taking mock-ups, little wireframes, whatever you can, and getting real customer feedback is essential. But nothing trumps actually shipping the product. You need to ship. You should be pushing to ship because that is the only time you're going to know if you are on the right track to value. You can do all the big brain thinking and all the arguing and all the qualitative testing you want. But until it's out and people are actually using it, you won't know if you're actually solving that problem. So it is a team sport. You're having brilliant partners and peers is absolutely a blessing. And you should do everything you can to engage and inspire them to help you build the right product. And then you gotta help them make sure that we're getting it out quickly so that we can learn in real time